Let's see, who do we have in here? Watagwan, 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 Watagwan. For those who speak Jamaican patois, that's hey, what's up? All right, see people joining in. That's good. That's good. Let me say hello as well. Yes. All right, so today I'm going to tell another story. Today is a story about a diet company that claims to be a tech company, but is in essence just masquerading as just another diet. Just another that. Man, can't you trust anybody these days? Can't you trust anybody these days? Somewhat disappointing. Somewhat disappointing. So, for those of you who've never heard of Noon, I've heard of them, but I wasn't really sure what the hell they were. But it's one of the market leaders in weight loss programs, and it's valued at $3.7 billion. Yeah, it's a big number. It's a big number. So millions of people are using this thing. I have a friend, he and his wife tried it and they quit. So yeah. Yeah. It launched a couple of years ago, 2017, 2018, I think. Received quite a lot in private equity financing, over $500 million. And they recently settled a lawsuit for $62 million to address complaints about billing. So if you're going to do that, of course, I figured that there's probably more to it than just billing. And lo and behold, you peel back the onions and yeah, crazy stuff going on there. Like I said, it's a diet company that claims to be a technology company, but is really just masquerading as just another diet. And as we all know, most diets unfortunately don't work, unfortunately. Yeah. So in the lawsuit, the former senior software engineer was quoted as saying, Noom was difficult by design to cancel, meant to generate income from customers who didn't cancel in time to avoid charges. Yeah, very shady, very shady. If you're doing stuff like that, God knows what else you're doing, right? Yeah. Now, Noom, it's interesting. So, theoretically, it sounds pretty cool, right? They come with this CBT, as this cognitive behavior therapy, to help people have a better relationship with food and therefore their weight. Now, there is some science behind this. It's not mumbo jumbo, so to speak. Unfortunately, Noom's own study is based on some tiny, less than like 0.5% of the people who've used it. Very tiny. I think it's just over 1 year. And naturally, it's not peer reviewed either. So they claim they're different from different diets, but they're kind of just like regular diets. So some of the controversy, they have these very low calorie goals, right? So low that, I mean, you're eating like a child. I saw a case of a active adult male being told to eat 1,200 calories. Incidentally, 1,200 calories is a common calorie number thrown up by Noom, which is kind of crazy since it's supposed to be customized and personalized, but they have this round number of 1,200 calories for many, many, many people. Numerous cases of this all over the place. Male, female, even pregnant women have been told to eat 1,200 calories, which goes against what most doctors would tell a woman who's pregnant, not eating 1,200 calories. I mean, calorie needs vary depending on how active you are, your weight, obviously. your sex, even. It's, yeah, that made no sense. So that's another one of the problems they have. They also have this crazy thing with food coloring: green, yellow, and red, like a stoplight type system. Green is fruits and veggies, red is these calorie dense type things. And problem there is you can unintentionally create some kind of eating disorders, right? People are afraid to eat nuts or some calorie dense food, but it's not that simple, right? It's not that simple at all. Yeah, fruits and vegetables are good. I eat them every day. I recommend them to people that I know, but that's not enough. Where are you going to get your protein? Are you going to have enough carbs to fuel your energy? And another problem, although it's customized and personalized, the numbers don't match up. So, for example, there's stories of these coaches having up to 800 clients, which is kind of crazy, right? For something to be personalized and customized. So as a result of this, they come back with these canned responses. They don't really answer questions. They don't give specific guidance. It's all touchy-feely stuff, right? Touchy-feely stuff. Now, why is all this a problem? Because if you think about it, right, if people got messed up with some billing, but they lost weight, because the billing problem is just that people couldn't get out of it, right? But if you were happy, then you wouldn't want to get out of it, right? So clearly there's a problem there. That's more the root of the problem. Because when you're coming up with these ridiculously low calorie goals of 1,200 calories, right, which isn't customizable apparently, although Noom claims you can adjust them, which kind of defeats the purpose, right? If this system is going to give you a number, why would you need to adjust a number yourself? You're relying on the system and these coaches to already give you a number. You're not the expert, right? This is what you're paying for. Um, Now, undereating can lead to fatigue, problems with your organs, as we discussed in yesterday's show, ironically, mood swings, brain fog, mess up your metabolism, slows it down. It can become a vicious cycle. You eat less, slow down your metabolism, and the less you eat can actually make you get fat. I know, crazy. It's like adding insult to injury, right? So, I mean, that 1,200 thing is definitely very ridiculous. Very ridiculous. 'Cause, I mean, if you're a busy professional, how are you going to function on 1,200 calories a day, right? I mean, if you drop below 1,000 calories for a couple of months or years, you can really, really create all kind of problems with your brain functions, increased risk of bone fractures, weaken your immune system, stress on your organs. Again, as we discussed yesterday, with that fitness influencer who ended up in the hospital with organ failure, even though she's 30, which is crazy. Can even impact your heart, can lead to heart failure over time. So, yeah. Worst of it, I mean, there are going to be some people who try these things. They already either have eating disorders or they're predisposed to eating disorders. And low calorie diet can already trigger that, really create bad habits or make bad habits even worse, so to speak. So, yeah, that's the problem there. Again, Noom said that, hey, that 1,200 number, you can actually adjust it yourself. But again, you're not an expert. This is why you hired these people, right? But like a doctor asking you, hey, what dose do you think you should take of this medication? Or the dose is, it's a range. You're not a doctor. That makes no sense, right? uh, yeah, there's a dietitian in North Carolina who did some research on this, or actually on Noom, rather, I should say. And tons of people contacted are showing that, yeah, they keep getting the same exact thing, 1,200 calories. So not very personalized. And then to the coaches, former Noom employees were talking about essentially just copy and pasting advice, which is crazy, right? You're paying all this money for this service, and the advice they're just copy and pasting, which is crazy. And they love to respond to your questions with a questions like, what can you do to set yourself up for success? Or this one lady talked about keeping the same inspirational quotes over and over again. To get through the hardest journey, we need to take only one step at a time, but we must keep on stepping. Right, right, right. But I mean, one of the more hilarious stories was this Reddit user sharing a conversation with a coach, and they asked, hey, does low carb diet lead to food cravings and binging? And the coach replied, how do you feel about low carb? They answer a question with a question, right? Why do they do this? Are these bad people? No. But if you're dealing with a couple hundred clients where you have to be in contact, one lady was talking about 100 to 150 people per day. That's a lot when you're getting intricate questions being asked, right? So they deflect with answering a question with a question and trying to make you come up with the answer. So, and then when you're taking a cookie cutter approach, it's not personalized, which creates more problems, this vicious domino effect. So I see we got some comments here in the chat. So I got a good question. Is Noom like Weight Watchers? Not exactly. I would say it's not quite like Weight Watchers. They don't have points or anything like that. They do use a standard calorie in, calorie out goal. The problem is that, as I was talking about earlier, this random 1,200 number that so many people seem to get. What are the odds of that, right? So basically, they're doing what a lot of crash diets do, right? You show up, you do a diet, whatever it is. All they do is slash your calories drastically, so the scale will start going down. You feel happy. People compliment you. You think, oh, this is going great. But after a while, you're not just losing fat, you've lost some water weight. You also start losing muscle, slow down your metabolism, and then slowly but surely, you'll plateau or you'll quit because you're starving. Or if you stay on it, have that much willpower, you're super strong, you'll eventually destroy your metabolism and you'll start to get fat again. Except now you're at this super duper low calorie number. I know it's like adding insult to injury because eventually you got to eat, right? But now that you've slowed down your metabolism, now you're going to get even fatter than before. I know, crazy. Yeah, crazy. Yes, seeing as I don't stand behind dieting, I'm assuming Noom gets a thumbs down. Yes, Noom gets a big thumbs down. Big thumbs down. I agree. Not customized at all. No, 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 no. When people are getting the same exact color rules, I could at least see maybe if they were doing exercises, similar exercises, leg press is a leg press, right? But to get the same exact calorie number and it's a round figure, that is ridiculous. How can somebody be 220? This gentleman lifts weight 6 times a week, he said, and the high intensity exercise gets 1,200 calories. That is insane. Trying to kill him. Trying to kill him. I think he said every other app he went to had him at least 800 calories above that number, which makes sense, right? Yeah, 1,200. You know what? Let me do a simple experiment to see you guys can really understand how ridiculous 1,200 is. Let's see. I found this before. No, not there. I'm looking for this table that shows by age and sex. How many you need? Okay, I think I found it. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see. Let me see if I learned something new. How do I share my screen? Let's try this. Share screen. Window. Oh, okay, here we go. I can actually share just a tab. Okay, perfect. Actually, I'll just share the entire screen. Let's keep it simple. Oh, thanks for the super chat. We'll come back to that question. So let's see. Can you guys actually see my screen or no? I'm thinking you cannot see my screen. Okay, let me try this again. Okay, you can't see my screen. All right, let me try again. Share screen, share tab. Okay, I think you should be able to see my screen this time, right? Let me know in the chat. Okay, awesome. You can see the screen. Perfect. Progress. So, an adult, a 4-year-old kid, a boy, is eating 1,200 calories if he sits on his butt all day, right? What about a girl? 4-year-old girl. This is what Noom was telling most adults, even pregnant women, to eat. Crazy, right? As a matter of fact, they not only should be sued for their billing practices, but for their ridiculously dangerous advice. I mean, look how ridiculous this is. 1,200 calories. I mean, crazy, right? It's almost criminal. Their negligence, you could say. Yeah. And this is the government. You know, the government is conservative, right? Because how many 4-year-old kids are sedentary? And even if you're an adult and sedentary, it's still giving you big numbers to be eating, all right? Way more than 1,200 calories, male or female. Again, even if you're sedentary, which is the more conservative column, still, right? You're nowhere close to that. Nowhere close. Even when you're super duper old, you're at 1,600 calories and you're sedentary, right? But they want you to eat 1,200 and you're moving around. Again, these people should be sued for terrible advice. Okay, so let me switch back to this. Acknowledge that super chat. So, Joy asks, read that Noom provides customers with health and wellness coach. It doesn't seem that it's true. Yes, they should be. Now, some of them are personal trainers. Whether they were registered dietitians, that I'm not sure, but some were certified trainers. I saw something by one of them, and she definitely said it was definitely stressful. And the amount of people they had her coaching was just way too much because she had a full time job as well. That's another thing. A lot of these coaches, they're not necessarily full time Noom coaches, they're doing other things, right? So she pretty much said, because you have several former employees that have said that, yeah, these things just didn't really work. The workload was too crazy. Yeah. Thanks again for the super chat. So let me scroll back through the chat here. Good question from Susan. So what happened is because the answers are so canned, Suzanne, this is why some people felt like they were getting bots. They would type a question and the answer had no I'm not sure if you when you joined, but there was a hilarious response. Actually, there's several hilarious responses rather. But they try to answer questions with questions in essence, right? And they put all these inspirational quotes. So it sounds like it's a bot. And they keep copy and pasting things. Like people would get the same message multiple times, the same inspirational quote. So this gentleman asked, hey, would a low carb diet lead to cravings and binging? And the coach replied, how do you feel about low carb? Right? They would tend to answer things like that, which seemed not like a human response, but they really apparently were humans there. But this is what leads to people thinking it was AI and bots, essentially. Good question. All right. What should look for bad advisors? Okay, Tony has a great question. Besides low caloric goals, what else should you look out from bad advisors? Let's see. Well, let's take a step back. I'm going to approach this question this way. So, big picture, right? You have the mental side and the physical side. So, on the physical side, low calorie is a red flag because they just want you to quickly lose weight. Scale goes down. They've got your money. You're happy temporarily. Pant size, clothes size go down. But then, as I discussed earlier, you crush your metabolism and either you'll quit because you're starving or you'll get fat again, essentially. It's keeping it simple. The other things would be them harping on creating bad advice regarding food. For example, saying you can't eat this, or you can't eat that. There's no such thing as you can't eat this or you can't eat that, right? It's pretty much as long as you're hitting your right macronutrients, you can eat whatever you want. And studies have shown if you try to restrict what you really love, you'll eventually fall off the wagon. And instead of you just eating a little bit, you will go crazy and you'll binge. So let's say you like pizza, right? You want a slice of pizza. You can fit that pizza into your daily calories where you will not get fat, right? You just have to make a sacrifice somewhere else. But if this coach tells you no more pizza and you there go week after week, month after month, when you finally eventually break down, because nobody can resist torture forever, right? You won't eat one slice, you'll eat several slices. And you'll probably go on a bender of pizza for several days, maybe even weeks. Then you'll feel guilty, you'll beat yourself up. Then you may just say, well, to hell with it, screw it, it's all messed up. Let me keep going. And you'll just keep going. You fall off the wagon, you never get back on the wagon. That's another red flag. Another red flag from bad advisors would be gimmicky exercises. Now, this is not a Noom thing, but this is since based on your question, right? You go to a gym, you see the trainers with people they're training. And they're always doing some cool stuff like with ropes, jumping up and down, doing all kind of crazy stuff. And you look around that gym, nobody else is doing what they're doing. Literally nobody else. You see all the best looking guys, the best looking ladies, they're not doing any of this stuff. You should ask the advisor, did he or she do what they're giving you to do to look the way they look? And why isn't nobody else doing this stuff if it's so great? That's other things to look out for. Nobody's doing the program you're given, the workout program. That's another red flag, let's say. That's something off the top of my head. And regarding the mental, if they don't touch on the mental, that's kind of another red flag. If you think about it, right? Your doctor tells you to change for your health, but rarely do we change for our health. You're more likely to change for how you look or how you want to look, but that's usually not enough either. You need some deeper thing. So if they're also not touching on the mental aspect, right? Like, why are you eating that cookie or the chocolate? If you're not hungry, like, what are you trying to get? Like, what feeling you're trying to, if they're not addressing those things, you're doomed to failure. Yeah, you're going to go for a while. It's like the New Year's resolution. You go for a while and then you slowly fizzle down. So that's a pretty good question, actually. That'd be a good show idea, actually. Okay, that's a deep one. like I said, the physical aspect of things. If they're not knowledgeable to talk to you about that stuff, are they not patient enough, or they don't care, or they have too many clients? Another red flag is too many clients. They just lump you together. You're in a class of 30 of you. You're all doing the exact same thing. And you get the exact same program. That's because they make more money off you this way. You know, if you have one-on-one for $100, that person makes $100. But if they can get you and 29 other of you to get 30 times, say $30, now that's $900. Right? So they're motivated to go quantity over quality, volume. That's how they're going to maximize their money, right? Think Walmart. Yeah, so a good point here. Yes, everyone hit the like button. I'm too new to this. I keep forgetting to ask this myself. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button while you're at it too. Let's see. I should have turned this thing on. I didn't even have this on. Mm-hmm. No, I'm guessing that won't actually work. Getting some pretty good questions so far in comments. So one thing is, how does a company like Noom get so valuable, right? That is worth a couple $1 billion. It's the same way you see some of these YouTube videos that promise, hey, you know, drink this magical drink or tea to lose fat, clog your arteries, or have a tablespoon of it or 2 tablespoons. Because these companies prey on the fact that they know people just want something for nothing. They want instant gratification, instant satisfaction. They kind of prey on that. It's predatory in a sense. The same way they designed their system to make it difficult for you to get out of it. So to be more specific, what they were doing is you'd sign up for a trial period, and to cancel, you couldn't just hit a button or call. You had to contact your coach, right? And this coach would not respond in time for you to cancel. And even though they're the ones that were late, they would still bill you. And it was designed for them to generate income. So even if they had to return your money, which took weeks or months, they were making interest off your money. So let's say they have $1 million in incorrect billing, right? And they have that for a month. That's interest they're making off the $1 million or $10 million. So that's, you know, real money that adds up over time. That definitely adds up over time, right? So yeah, when they're going to do shady things like that, you can tell the culture at the company is not good. Tone at the top is terrible. That's the kind of company that has no qualms in shafting you, for sure. They'll definitely shaft you without a doubt. No doubt about that. Let's see. Do we have any new questions, comments? Yeah, that cognitive psychotherapy, it is interesting. There is some science behind it. It's not mumbo jumbo made up stuff. The problem is, so far, there have been no long term studies, and not that I know of. If anybody does, they correct me, feel free to. The theory is there for you to have a more positive relationship with food. Like I was mentioning, like, why are you eating the chocolate, right? Why are you eating it? If you're just hungry or you just want to have it, you know, just for a treat or whatever. But if you're not even hungry, right, then you're trying to get to that why, trying to have a more positive relationship with food. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great comment. The app is not going to head to the grocery store and cook for you or drive to the gym. That's a great comment. Great comment there. Great comment. So, what are some good alternatives to Noom? Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers has its pluses and minuses. It's better than Noom, I'll say that much. But yeah, I'll probably do a show on Weight Watchers. Nothing beats hard work, first of all, and planning things out. I mean, what holds most people back is lack of knowledge and pride, let's say. That's probably the politically correct way to say it. Personally, I just said what held me back was ignorance and arrogance. Ignorance, I did not know what I was doing. Thought I knew what I was doing. Didn't know what I didn't know. Worst of all, the some things I thought were correct were not correct. It took coaching to correct some of these things, right? And I guess arrogance, I thought I could figure it out. Just Google it. So the long story short, Noom is kind of like a magic pill, so to speak. It sounds too good to be true. That's another thing for red flags to Tony's question earlier. When it sounds too good to be true, hey, 30 pounds in 30 days, whatever. If it sounds too good to be true, you need to resist the urge and just realize it's too good to be true, right? It's kind of like somebody like, hey, give me some money and they'll double it in a month. Yeah, it's probably some Ponzi scheme, multi-level marketing, something, right? When it sounds too good to be true, it's usually too good to be true. It took you a long time to put on weight. If you're trying to lose weight, you can't lose it overnight. I mean, you can find some of these things out on your own, right? If you have the time and the desire to do the research, you can find good information online. I mean, lots of people have. I mean, I lost 65 pounds by myself once. I did gain it back, so. But you can do research to definitely lose weight healthily, for sure. Talk about TLC. What is TLC? Can you talk about TLC? What is TLC? I don't know. Is that tender loving care? I assume not. Is that some kind of a diet? Okay, so we have the positive therapist saying cognitive psychotherapy is proven to work in actual therapy sessions. They took the concept and applied it to losing weight. Aha. Total life changes. Okay, TLC is total life changes. Sure, I can definitely do that. They sell weight loss products. TLC weight loss products. TLC brewed original cleansing tea. Okay. Oh, this is an interesting dat regarding cholesterol. Okay. Actually got some pretty good rankings. A quick Google search here from a reputable, checking a reputable website. Yeah, I could definitely do something on this. Great suggestion. Thanks. I have saved it. The one thing with diets overall is that generally speaking, diets are not something you can maintain. You really want to make a lifestyle change versus a diet, right? Diet is short term. Like people that step on stage in competitions, they're dieting to step on stage, but they're not dieting throughout the year. But they look great throughout most of the year, right? Uh, So that's one thing I'm a bit skeptical of when it comes to that. But brief Google search, it seems interesting for sure. Said it was designed for cholesterol, but you might lose weight with it. Okay. I'll do some research on that. Thanks for the suggestion. So, in a nutshell, will Noom, they're shady with their billing practices. So, from an ethical point of view, just not an ethical company. So, never trust. I would never trust them again personally. If I had used them, or if I wouldn't use them just based on that alone. Secondly, their program is not very customized with their nonsensical 1200 calorie thing. Third, their thing about green foods, yellow foods, red foods is not so good, right? As I was talking about earlier. Yeah, conceptually, it's just a fad diet with an app. Maybe that's the best way to think of it. It's a fad diet with an app in the form of an app. It's got cool marketing, that killer marketing team, a killer marketing team, right? Those ads are, I mean, even I was intrigued the first time saw those ads. It looks super cool with the technology. Oh, I just do this, do that. And Noom tells me what to do. It tells me when I'm doing this or that. It sounds awesome. But we don't have that kind of Star Wars technology right now. So unfortunately, the science isn't that good. I forget who said it. It's not gonna go to the store and order the food for you, right? Or carry it to the gym, unfortunately. Weight loss teas. Okay, good question. Yeah, that sounds back to my too good to be true, right? You drink this thing and you just lose weight. Is that what they're saying? Weight loss tea. I'm not even going to bother to Google that one, right? I'm just going to call BS on that one. Yeah, weight loss teas. No, 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 no. You're not drinking something over the counter that you get legally at any rate that you're just going to magically lose weight. Yes, it's a good point there. Good point by Joy. They do target ladies with these weight loss teas and creams and lotions and stuff like that. Look at it this way. Another red flag back to Tony's question, because that question was like so good. If any of these things were that effective, your teas, whatever, it would be everywhere. You'd see it on CNN, NBC, Fox, cover of Time magazine. Everybody, it would be peer reviewed out the wazoo. All the legitimate medical journals will talk about it. It would be studied, and there'd be no doubt about it. But the fact that this weight loss tea is not on CNN, it's not everywhere. You can't. It's just not peer reviewed, most likely. It's just another gimmick, right? You know how you lose weight with a weight loss tea? They probably tell you to cut your calories, or they tell you not to eat around the tea, right? And essentially, they're doing what Noom is doing with this drastic low calorie nonsense, which is what most of these programs, that's what they do. It is some version of drastically cutting your calories. They're just packaging the mumbo jumbo stuff in a different package, right? They're just charlatans. Yes, good point there. Whenever I see weight loss this or detox that, I hear alarm bells. That is so true. I mean, think about it, right? When you go to the doctor will be giving you this detox thing, right? They'll be like, hey, man, you need to lose 30 pounds. There's this great weight loss tea. It's been studied by medical institutions, approved by the FDA. You see it everywhere, it's advertised everywhere. This thing works. Here you go. That is legit, right? But these random stuff, because that's the other thing with supplements, they're not fully regulated by most governments. So they're allowed to put this kind of nonsense. Say flat tummy teas, that's another one. Drinking a tea is going to flatten your tummy. Yeah. It's similar to these other advisors, back to the Tony question. What's one of those things they do? Lose your fupa in a month or 2 months or something? Yeah, that's not happening either, right? Or a week. If you weren't that lean before, you're not suddenly losing your fupa or your gut in a month. That's not happening, right? That's an impossibility. That is an impossibility. But the Noom people were pretty smart, right? They had some serious funding, like I said, $500 million in private equity funding, and they're currently valued at almost $4 billion with a B, billion. Spend a lot of money. You see the ads on TV. The ads are super smooth, super slick. You don't feel like they're selling you anything, so to speak, right? That they're gimmicky. It sounds so legit, blah, blah. They talk about they have studies, but their study was done by them on some tiny percentage of their people over a short period of time. It's not peer reviewed. So, yeah. Again, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Great comments and great questions. Thanks, guys. And I'm definitely going to look into that TLC. Yeah, TLC dads. To be honest, I've never heard of that dad. But there's so many damn dads out there, so many dad books. One of the things these people like to do is repackage dads. They make a slight twist, give it a new name, put it in a book or a program, and boom, it's a new hot dad, right? And it's hot for a while, and then it fizzles out, and people move on to the next hot thing. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Noom ads use regular people. That is true. That was very clever marketing on their part. They're not doing the Instagram style where everybody looks unbelievably beautiful. The men and the ladies are super handsome, super beautiful with god and goddess-like physiques. They're not trying that approach, right? But that's with that weight loss and detox stuff. You see these people on Instagram promoting these weight loss teas. Little do you know they did some kind of surgery, their Brazilian butt lift or this or that, and yeah. Or they took all those pictures at one time of the year and they slowly dribbled those pictures out over the period of 1 year. I bet you a lot of those, you guys didn't know that, right? So maybe for summer, they've slimmed down, they've dieted down for a bunch. They'll take hundreds, thousands of photos, say in the summer. They'll even be wearing winter clothing because they're in a studio, right? You can't tell. And they'll take that picture in June and release that picture in December. You think, man, this guy, this little woman looks hot all the year round. No, they don't. Just another trick, just another trick. It's all hocus pocus, sleight of hand, right? Lots of sleight of hand. And that calorie thing can really, really mess you up, man. If you vicious cycle, like I said, the fatigue, brain fog, memory lapses, hair loss. I know definitely heard of women going through that, losing their hair, dry skin, digestive issues, the moodiness, irritability. Just think of a baby who hasn't gotten a nap, right? Or hasn't gotten to eat. What are they going to do? They're going to cry, scream, and throw a temper tantrum, right? That's what you will be doing, except you'll be, as an adult. So you'll be a bit restrained, but yeah. And then it can get really serious, as we saw in yesterday's shows for you guys who weren't here, that fat girl fed up, that's her handle on Instagram, Lexi Reed, she got admitted to the hospital with organ failure, which is pretty serious. And yeah, I mean, she lost 312 pounds in 2 years, which is considered extreme weight loss, which puts a ton of stress on the organs, right? Similar way in these low calorie things, this 1,200 calorie nonsense weakens your immune system, yeah, puts you in a eating disorder. It already makes those people with eating disorders even worse. So yeah. So we got new comments. Let's see new comments. Assume MFP is MyFitnessPal. So MyFitnessPal is a great way to track things. their whatever algorithm they're using is not terribly accurate. Whatever they recommend usually is off, from what I can tell. But it's great for tracking your calories. And that's another. Oh, I keep going back to this. That Tony question is the best question tonight for sure. Where is Tony? Just shout out. Where is that question? I gotta find it. Let's just pull it up on the screen. I keep coming back to this thing. Do, 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 do. Yeah, shout out to that question. I've come back to it so many times. Definitely. I can star it too. Aha. Learn something new. So, when bad advisors tell you can eat whatever the hell you want to eat and you'll still lose weight, that's another way they try to trick you, right? Oh, you can have whatever you want, just eat in moderation. You don't need to track, just, have one slice of pizza or half a slice. That's nonsense. Again, they're preying on your desperation, wanting to have your cake and eat it too, wanting to have something for nothing. It doesn't work that way. Imagine you get in a car, right? You're trying to drive from point A to point B. You have no GPS. You have no speedometer. You have no gas gauge. What are the odds of you getting there? You're not going to get there. You're just not going to get there, right? You're going to get lost. You will not get there. And something like MyFitnessPal, there's no getting around tracking. Now, after a while, you can estimate, and you can use things such as satiety. You can use that for sure. But initially, if you're trying to lose weight, it is in your best interest to track what the hell you're eating, right? Because you need some kind of caloric deficit, whether it's through exercise or eating, or the best is shown by studies to be a combination of both exercise and reducing calories, right? But if you're just randomly reducing calories, then you're just making wild ass guesses, right? You're just guessing. That's at the end of the day, you're guessing. You didn't guess with medication, with doses. You wouldn't go to the barber and have them guess. You wouldn't see a doctor and hope that they just guess. No, you'd want them to be, accurate, right? It's not like cooking where you can estimate, so to speak. Well, actually, again, if you really know what you're doing in cooking, you can. Which, again, if you really know what you're doing with food, then again, you can. Or if you don't need to lose weight. But if you do, you really do have to use things like MyFitnessPal. Nowadays, those things are so much more easier to use because you can, at least for iPhone users, I don't know, you Android people, but I know for iPhone, you can like swipe right to load food from the previous day. Brings up frequently used items. And most people, although they don't realize this, they tend to eat the same things over and over again. They think they eat a wide variety of things, but they don't. You go to the same restaurants and to order the same things, right? You're not that adventurous with food as you think you are. Yeah, I know. You think you do, but you don't. And I think some of you probably, if you've ever had some kind of thing that tracks your steps, like I use this Oura ring, it tracks my step. The Apple Watch tracks my steps. How little steps you actually walked when you realize how many steps you're walking or the lack thereof, especially on weekends when you're at home and the bathroom is just around the corner. So you just have no reason to walk very far. Yes, I'm throwing shade at androids. Showing shade at androids. Nothing is wrong with the Android phone, It's just that most of the apps, at least in the US anyway, are made for iPhones and they're updated more regularly for iPhones. And MyFitnessPal, I think, at least it used to be that way for them. Things on the iPhone version was there, but the Android version didn't have it. So I'm not really sure if they have the swipe right feature now. Because it definitely would suck to have to be manually picking foods over and over again. I don't know if any of you people with Androids can tell me if you have that swipe right feature. It basically says load meals from the previous day, for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or what have you. So, yeah. But I'm definitely going to use that Tony question for some kind of a show. There's so many ways, so many things you can talk about around that. And the typical person does not know what the heck to look out for with a terrible. Because here's the problem: most of these fitness people, they look good. I remember some years ago, you know, this guy telling me, but the guy looks so muscular. I figure his plan must be great. I'm like, yeah, but this guy's been in organized sport. He couldn't coach himself to look like himself, right? So if you have somebody that's been involved in organized sport, they never got fat, they've always worked out, and they look fabulous, doesn't mean that they know anything, you know. What's this ring you mentioned? Okay, let me put a link to this. It's called the Oura ring, which I need to talk about at some point in time as well. It's arguably the best sleep tracking device you can get, at least to wear anyway, because it gives you near sleep study quality. Let's put this in here. There's a link to it. It's great. You know, it can tell you if you had a bad night's sleep. It can help guide you along those lines, tracks your activity as well, makes recommendations. Should you work out? Should you not work out based on heart rate variability? It's pretty accurate. I know the NBA was using it when they came back from the quarantine. Several professional teams all over the world have used the Oura ring as well. With, you know, if multi-million-dollar athletes are using this thing, that's a good sign. Also, hospitals like Mount Sinai Hospital has used it as well. So, you know, famous, very well-respected medical institutions have utilized the data from Oura as well. So yeah, I've had it for been wearing it for a pretty long time. It's pretty accurate. I can say that it's pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. Well, I think I've pretty much hit most everything about Noom. It was interesting to dive into that. Like I said, I figured with their little shadiness on billing, there was probably other shady things they were doing. I think the billing is the least of their sins, even though that's the one they're paying 62 million for. Which I guess for a company valued at almost 4 billion, that's probably a slap on the wrist, unfortunately. But the biggest problem is the fact that for most people, it's clearly not going to work. Worst of all, you could argue that for some people, it's actually going to hurt them. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see some class action lawsuits now against Noom. You know, yeah. Hopefully nobody got that injured from following their ridiculous advice. But if they did, eventually something bad would happen to those people, unfortunately. Yeah. Especially that part where they're recommending to the women that were pregnant or breastfeeding to be eating 1,200 calories a day. I'm no doctor, but from what I could see from the CDC and some other people, that's not a recommendation for most pregnant women to eat 1,200 calories or breastfeeding women to eat 1,200 calories. So, yeah. Actually, let me make a correction. Not pregnant women, because the Noom app actually does not let people participate if they're pregnant. So breastfeeding women. My mistake. Breastfeeding women, not pregnant women. Let me not slander Noom. Breastfeeding women, not pregnant ladies. So yeah. But yeah, everything else about them that I said was bad is pretty much bad. Yeah. Pretty much bad. No bueno. So long story short, I do not recommend Noom. Stay away from Noom at all costs, I would say. Because even though they paid the fine, I didn't see them say anything about changing management. So it's the same people managing it before who were doing the naughty things, right? So I would not, yeah, not unless they change a whole lot of those people would I trust in them. Only then would I trust them. So thanks again, guys. Great another discussion. So Laters, my people. Megalang. For those who don't speak Jamaican patois, that is goodbye. Have a good night, guys.